Oh, the humanity. We have ourselves some breaking news. Oscar Piastri confirms what we've all been thinking all the while, that there is favouritism at McLaren. Let me tell you how I know. The context here is important because everybody's been saying it. You saw the British Grand Prix. Why didn't they invert positions then, McLaren? Zak Brown has been doing this magical PR tour saying egalitarianism, PLC. That's what Papaya Rules is. Do not touch each other, equal rights and justice. I tell you what, this is techie. Let's rewind for a second before I break some news. Oscar Piastri giving it to you real, raw and uncut by dint of his Instagram. Here's what we know. Australia, Oscar Piastri was on a charge. McLaren then said to him, you know what, chill out, mate. It's too rainy, changeable conditions. Relax yourself. You got a fire-breathing dragon in Maximilian Verstappen behind you. And that's what we need to deal with first. Then you get the British Grand Prix, a harsh penalty by all accounts. What did McLaren do then? Nothing to see here. No harm, no foul. A couple cheeky ambitious overtaking manoeuvres by Oscar Piastri. McLaren jump on the radio and say, remember Papaya Rules? That was not it. Singapore, Lando, cheeky love kiss with Oscar Piastri. Nothing to see here. Zak Brown does one of these and says that that's hard and fair racing. What are we talking about, chat? Contradiction, PLC. Can you spell hypocrisy? Now, grey-bearded F1 veterans have been saying for the longest time about Lando Norris and McLaren that he is their chosen one, the golden child, the prodigal son per se. Every time you see an advert on McLaren, it is always Lando Norris front and centre. Mention no names, Air Wallix. Mention no names, Ralph Lauren, Hilton, Monster. Every single time it's Lando Norris front and centre, meaning therefore one thing. Lando Norris is the guy, right? He's the commercial entity. He's the commercial value. If McLaren indeed harbour aspirations of increasing their value as an asset to the market, then there is infinitely more value in a Lando Norris driver champion than an Oscar Piastri one. For the longest time, we've been having that argument. But now today, get this, Bernie Ecclestone's come out and he's confirmed that he thinks the same, that Lando Norris is the commercial value, Donny, going forward. And again, that aligns with what we're seeing from the adverts, right? Ralf Schumacher came out and said today that Oscar Piastri finds himself at risk of becoming a second driver, that McLaren are no longer McLaren, that they are Lando Norris's team. Again, mention no names. There is an affinity, isn't there, between Zak Brown? You can see the glint in his eye when he looks at Lando Norris, when he sees him on the podium. Lando has long length of service to his name. That's, of course, going to be an advantage. He's the McLaren guy, been there now for 7 years. Oh, and by the way, not to mention that Quadrant had as their CEO director, some say, per company's house, one Zak Brown. They are business, or at least have been business affiliates. Then Bernie Ecclestone comes out and says this, that he thinks McLaren prefers the English driver. British bias, any? That he has more star quality and more marketing appeal for them, has more camera presence and publicity. That's probably why he's better for McLaren. The insinuation, therefore, being that if Lando were to win the Drivers' Championship in 2.5, that would be a better outcome for McLaren, underlined and almost substantiated by the aforementioned British Grand Prix examples, Australian Grand Prix, Singapore, Italian Grand Prix, lest we forget. Said on a gazillion occasions, and I will repeat, I make no apologies for labouring this point. The Italian Grand Prix inversion on the back of the slow pit stop when Oscar Piastri said, surely slow pit stops are part of racing. I think you can chalk all those instances up to the game. This is motor racing, not necessarily proof positive of any sort of favouritism at the altar of Zak Brown and Andrea Stella. However, imagine you're Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris makes a cheeky mistake in Q2, an error of the unforced variety, and you hear your race engineer, Tom Stollard, come over the radio and say something to this effect. Lando's made a mistake. Do you mind towing him to ensure that the only other chap who can win the championship in 2.5, the guy in the other car, can get through to Q3? Are you having a laugh, McLaren? Tom Stoddard, how very dare you ask me to tow that dude through to Q3 when he's made a mistake? I've always said all of the other ones, the Australia, the British Grand Prix, whatever, that's motorsport and you can chalk that up to the game. But asking Oscar Piastri to tow Lando Norris into Q2, into Q3 even, so that he stands a better chance of beating Oscar chaos. Full stop, new paragraph. And Bernie Ecclestone's undermined this. He's given credence to the theory, right? Up until now, it was a conspiracy. Bernie Ecclestone speaking to those words by dint of GP fans, however, is techier than techie things. And then check this out, chat. Here's where it is about to get chaotic. Buckle up, chat, because this is proof positive that Oscar Piastri, having been wheeled out on a PR tour, everything's fine, that the relationship between me and Lando has never been better, that's all fugazi, lies, Shakespearean levels of false seeming. Oscar Piastri, blink twice if you need help. Here is the red flag, the bat signal by dint of Oscar Piastri over the last 60 minutes. Can you see, chat? Bottom left. Who reposted this, courtesy of GP fans and Bernie Ecclestone? Is that Oscar Piastri, you say, on Instagram in the deep night over in Las Vegas, 3 a.m. their time, posting this, saying that Bernie Ecclestone's saying that Lando Norris is the chosen one, the prodigal son. Don't believe me. And this is not Photoshop, with breaking news out here. Don't believe me. Well, check this out. There you go. I've enlarged it so you can see in plena forma. And then when you go into Oscar Piastri, deleted now, by the way, you won't see it. This is not Photoshop. Reviewed, shared with me by a reliable source. And then check this one out. Oscar Piastri's page. You can see he's reposted it, chat. He feels then. How can he not feel that if he's reposting it? Since deleted, because the PR that is McLaren have got their arms around it. They're not insubstantial, but yet and still Oscar Piastri feels the same way that we do, have been feeling all the while, that McLaren is Lando Norris's team and they will do anything to ensure that he can get the Drivers' Championship. Oscar Piastri feels unfairly treated. Here's the big news story though. What happens next, chat? Now that the world has seen this, that Oscar Piastri agrees with Bernie Ecclestone that Lando Norris, in him, there is greater commercial value, and therefore McLaren are bending the knee to Lando Norris to ensure that he gets the championship in 2025, making sure he has the suspension that mitigates for the understeer that Lando Norris hates, making sure that he has the requisite steering feedback that he likes so that he can optimise for his chances of winning a Drivers' Championship. Listen to me, I'm telling you, Oscar Piastri is not pleased, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is proof positive. Let me bring up the bloody post. Bernie Ecclestone said that McLaren are favouring, in not the same words, I'm paraphrasing, but the McLaren prefers the English driver Lando Norris, British bias settings, and Oscar Piastri reposted that in the deep dark night in Las Vegas, 4 a.m. their time, since deleted, but that tells you everything that you need to know. Oscar Piastri agrees with the conspiracy theorists, the tinfoil hat merchants, that potentially in McLaren, if indeed they could choose, would choose Lando Norris to win the Drivers' Championship in 2025. The prosecution rests. No further questions, Your Honour.